some reserved optimism. Camp. The doors did just open, so supporters, family, friends are all starting to trickle in, and we're certainly expecting a big turnout tonight. Everyone standing by and watching closely as those votes come in. Supporters, namely big endorsements by both the Houston Police Officers Union as well as the Firefighters Union. That's due to the work that John Whitmire did in the Texas Senate, namely because he was the chairman, a longtime chairman of the Senate Criminal Justice Committee. However, I will say public safety and crime is not the only thing on John Whitmire's list of issues that he really wants to focus on if he is elected mayor tonight. A lot of that includes the infrastructure in this city, crumbling roadways, drainage problems that leads to flooding in the city. He spoke a lot about that throughout the many debates, some right here on Fox 26. And so everyone is, as I said, reserved optimism. We will still start getting a little bit more of the vibe of the room as the night goes on. But for now, Greg, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Shelby, we know you'll be watching it closely down there. We also have Sherman DeSalle at the campaign of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Sherman, you're in position. You hearing anything from Jackson Lee supporters?
Not just yet, because the supporters will not be in until 7:30, not allowed inside the Ensemble Theater at Midtown until 7:30. But the campaign's pretty excited. They say that they were excited to continue this race back a month ago when I asked the Congresswoman and her campaign how they felt about doing this for a few more weeks. They said they were optimistic. They said that the vote, that runoff vote, showed that people wanted her to lead the city, and she's been pleading with people to do just that and go vote today. So those polls are closed, but prior to that, she posted on Instagram, and she also went to a lot of different neighborhoods asking people to vote like their future depended on it. We're talking about a longtime U.S. Congresswoman who served in the U.S. Congress with the Houston capacity since 1995. So if she's elected, she will not only become historic when it comes to that congressional, to that Houston seat, but she will become the Houston's first black female mayor. So again, no one has been allowed in here just yet. There's actually more press in here than supporters, but as they start trickling in, we'll start hearing how they're feeling about this upcoming election, or the election that's already closed at the polls within the last few minutes. So as those numbers start coming in, we'll start paying attention to how the vibe is in the room. Because, again, this was a long-fought battle. We had just heard her and Whitmire go toe-to-toe in our last debate, talking about a lot of the same things, the infrastructure, the crime, a lot of those things that the voters really care about. So hopefully we'll see what those numbers reflect. And as Mark Jones said, the lower turnout probably won't be as favorable, but hopefully it'll vote in her favor. At least that's what she's hoping for. So we'll check in as soon as we start to get more voters and send it back to you right now.
All right, Sherman, great to have you in position down there, and in position for me here in the studio. A stellar gathering of political wisdom, regulars on our great show, What's Your Point? Joining us tonight, Sergio Lira, Dr. Sergio Lira, president of LULAC Houston, well-known businessman and columnist for Real Clear Politics, Bill King, longtime Houston City Council member, Sue Lovell, and of course, founder of Urban Reform, there he is, Charles Blaine. All right, Charles, let's start off. You've watched this race pretty closely, and the polls have had Whitmire in front for a long time. Do you think that the Congresswoman made up any ground between November 7th and now?
I don't see where if she did. I mean, I think, kind of Mark hit the nail on the head. I think the goal for that campaign was to try to encourage black voters to come out, because we know that based on the polling, it showed that black voters kind of overwhelmingly supported her. But I don't think that, materialized in the way that they had hoped. And just kind of anecdotally going around the city and talking to folks, it doesn't really seem as though it caught on the way that the campaign would hoped, and that a lot of folks have remained Whitmire supporters who were Whitmire supporters before, and Republicans who might have voted for Jack Christie in the first round have all come over, and so I don't think that it's turning in the direction that she wanted.
Okay, Sue Lovell, you have followed this campaign closely as well. How would you characterize what has happened between November 7th and the closing of the polls just a few minutes ago?
I think what I was surprised by was that the Sheila Jackson Lee campaign, it just, I don't want to say stalled out, but it didn't have that kind of enthusiasm. There certainly was no pulpit to the polls. There was just that, not that ground game that you usually see when a candidate is really trying to, to implement a good campaign. The ground game just didn't seem to be there at all.
Bill, you've been in the position that these candidates find themselves in. It's when you talk about more than 1 million registered voters and only 200,000 roughly show up. What's your take on what happened between November 7th and today?
Well, I think the most interesting is there were no surprises in this race. I mean, I guess the only thing you could kind of characterize as surprise was the tape coming out on Sheila. I don't know if that had a big impact. It may have moved a few white Democratic voters that were thinking about voting for her. But, one of the reasons that Mark gets these numbers so right on these elections is we know who's going to vote. And the difficult thing about polling is trying to figure out who's going to come vote. Well, we know it's the same 200,000 people that come out in every one of these city elections. I mean, it's just very predictable. I was looking, and my race with Sylvester in 2015. It was 2010. The Busby-Turner race, last time in 19 was 202. This is 193,000 as of 6:30. I mean, it's just, 200,000 people are going to vote. I don't care what you do. That's not going to change.
All right, this may be the high point for Jackson Lee tonight because the Fort Bend County numbers are in and they're way in her favor. Can you throw those up? April, do we have those yet? Are we seeing those? Oh, so that's not that's not unexpected. That's not unexpected.
Yeah, 1%.
Sergio Lira.
That's the early vote, right?
That's the early vote.
Yeah.
Sergio Lira, many of the most visible Latino leaders in our city endorsed John Whitmire early and stuck with him. They appeared in his campaign commercials. You know all those folks. Why?
Because we feel that Senator Whitmire has been there in our community for over 40 years as a state legislator and a state senator. He's worked with many of the Latino state legislature. They've been in the trenches together. When you're in the trenches together, you're like POWs. You know exactly what it's like to work together when the going gets tough. And these are the folks that you work with on a daily basis, and you realize that these are the folks of character. These are the folks that are going to stand with you. So therefore, the Latino elected officials are standing with them. And also his position on having our city reflective of the demographics, making it truly reflective of the demographics, has been a big signature point from him and our community.
All right, Charles Blaine, the mayoral race is not the only one. We have a race for controller. Our city's financial watchdog, and we have projections of financial hard times or challenges at least on the horizon. This pits Chris Hollins versus Orlando Sanchez. Thoughts about that race?
Yeah, well, I mean, like usual, the controller's race, as important as that office is, got absolutely no attention from anyone. But yeah, I mean, I think that because of, you've got two Democrats in the mayor's race, you've got Democrats who are motivated across the city. I think it's certainly in Holland's favor based on the November 7th results. I mean, he had a wide lead, and even if you were to add up the Republicans, which is Orlando Sanchez and Councilmember Dave Martin, it still wasn't coming near what Chris Hollins had. And so I think he's going to have that lead unless something changes. I mean, we do have conservatives who are coming out because they know that Senator Whitmire is, amenable to some of their concerns, and so they will be voting for Orlando Sanchez. But I do think that Chris Hollins probably has the lead going into this tonight.
Yeah, you agree with that, Sue? Hollins probably has a major advantage here.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
Bill, how do you see the controller's role in a John Whitmire administration or even a Sheila Jackson Lee administration?
Well, that job can be very proactive or can be very passive, and depending on the personality of the person in the office. If you go back to the old days when Kathy Whitmire was the controller, and so there were some huge battles between the mayors and the controllers. We really haven't seen that much in the last few administrations. It should be a very proactive office. There's not a huge amount of power in the office. They can withhold writing checks, but they rarely do that. And but certainly in terms of the bully pulpit and getting out there and talking about the financial problems with the city, talking about contracting problems, doing special audits on contracts, it could be a very proactive office.
Sergio, here's a question for you. You know, there are Latino voters out there who are traditionally Democrats, but they see a candidate with an Hispanic surname. Will they give that person a look based upon a shared heritage?
Absolutely. And not only because of the political party, because of the culture, the language, traditions, they definitely will look at that person just because they are Latino and they want folks that represent them and have some things in common.
Okay, I'm going to fire another one right at you.
Yes, sir.
And our big race in the at-large position 1, that's Melanie Miles versus Julian Ramirez. He's also a conservative. Do you think he'll be able to draw Latino support citywide?
Absolutely. He's a very experienced former prosecutor. He's an attorney. He's a well-spoken man. He's very intelligent. He's a very strong candidate. He was a front runner the first time, and I think he's going to hold the lead. He's very, very strong.
But both of them have actually run as Republicans before, by
Right,
the way.
right.
Melanie Miles ran as a Republican also, but yeah.
All right. Sue, I mean, you know Melanie pretty well, and you've watched this campaign unfold. Ramirez has run a law and order type of campaign. Melanie, a broader campaign, kind of pivoting on her activism for various neighborhoods. How do you see it?
I think it'll be interesting because the large turnout has been this time more Republicans. I mean, when you looked even today, the bigger turnout was really out in the Republican boxes. There was a good turnout in the inner city boxes, but a very low turnout in the African American boxes. So, and then on the east, I don't know if it picked up today, but in the Hispanic boxes, which would probably be to Ramirez's benefit, but I didn't see there was any big uptick in those boxes. So I think this is going to be an interesting race to watch.
By the way, going back to the controls race, remember Orlando Sanchez very nearly beat Lee Brown in his third term, and it was largely because Hispanics, like Sergio said, did go out and vote for him.
Absolutely.
So I think that Hollins will win, but I think that could be a closer race than some people think.
All right, I'm going to fire right back at you because you know one of the candidates for the at-large position 2 race very well, and Nick Hellier, who's taking on Willie Davis, a pastor who's also running on law and order. How do you see that race going?
Well, that's my old seat, Super 2.
Yeah.
Eleanor Tinsley's seat. It's a special seat. I think it's going to be close. I think Nick can pull it out. But again, we've just seen, you know, the demographics of turnout, and the turnout has been kind of different than we've seen in other races. So I think it's going to be close. I think all the at-larges are going to be interesting to see and watch.
Yeah, the background on these candidates is really interesting. I mean, Nick Hellier, who's a real estate agent, but spent significant time at City Hall working in the trenches with, you know, constituent services. Sue, he looks up to you as a mentor.
Well, I think of him as one of my kids.
And he was candidate for C.
Yeah, and he ran before. So, you know, but he's run a really good campaign, a really competitive campaign. Again, this is all about turnout and who turns out and then who votes for you. So I think all the at-larges, seriously, are going to be interesting. I don't think there's one of them right now that you could call and say, oh, I think so-and-so's going to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, even Willie Davis, back in 2019, before the crime wave really started rolling, he was sounding the alarm. I did stories with him. Do you think Willie Davis can draw both African-American votes as well as conservative votes? Because we saw a number of slates that are traditionally Republican endorsing Willie Davis.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I mean, he's very aligned and involved with the party, and I think a lot of Republicans know him. We know Senator Betancourt endorsed him and has been pushing out that endorsement kind of everywhere. And so I do think he can draw in both of those communities, which is unique for a conservative because we often don't see that happen. And so
it's kind of the Michael Kubash coalition.
Kubash. Hey, there's another Latino in the race for at-large 4. And against an incumbent, very popular incumbent, Leticia Plummer, and that's Roy Morales. Roy is also right of center, a law and order, former Air Force officer. Do you think he can pull support across the city enough to challenge Letitia, who kind of made a name for herself pushing back against the outgoing mayor, Sylvester Turner?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Roy Morales will get some support from Democratic, Hispanic voters. He's run before. It's an uphill battle. Letitia Plummer is an incumbent. She's well known. She's, like you just stated, has an independent voice on city council, and it has drawn a lot of attention. So it's an uphill battle for Mr. Morales, but he definitely will get some support and make it challenging.
So what does Letitia have on her side? Oh, we have some numbers coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Mark, are you crunching over there?
Yeah, Whitmire 65,
34.
Whitmire's up by 30%.
65-34.
Wow.
Okay. Did y'all hear that?
Wow.
Whitmire 65-35.
Wow.
Is that the early vote all in?
That's all the early vote.
That's early vote.
Okay, we can go home.
Wow.
We're
Wow,
done.
that's pretty massive. That's pretty massive.
Turn out the lights.
Boy, Ramirez and
Julia.
Miles are right
Wow.
on the knife edge.
Willie Davis up 10 points. 55-44.
Okay. I'm not seeing any of this.
I'm not either.
Twyla Carter's barely up. Plummer's barely up 5 points. Hollins 60-40.
Wow. That's about what we
Who's in
expected.
the
Yes,
District H race?
Mario 63, Cynthia 36.
That's done.
Yeah.
Mark, when you need me to come back over there,
55.
let me know when you're ready to say something definitive.
Huffman's 55-45 over Busby.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, Sue.
Castillo.
65-35 in
about,
the early
Julian?
vote. What does that tell you about this campaign and Whitmire's message?
Well, 65% of the voters, early voters, liked his message and believed what he was saying, and understood that, this city really needs some help and really needs a leader to step in and just deliver basic city services to the citizens. And I think his strong message on crime, he was chair of the Senate of the committee.
Senate Criminal Justice.
Senate, criminal justice. I think that message, he really was strong on that message, and I think that's what really carried him to the 65.
Yeah, I mean,
people trust him and believe him, and he's proven that he's great on the issue.
He has been returned to that position by Republicans, session after session. I think it's a matter of respect. I don't know what else it would be. Bill, 65-35. John Whitmire is in the driver's seat.
All I can say is Jones really got this one wrong this time. He way underestimated it. I think it is kind of funny that the poll that came out from U of H that Mark was not involved in said this was a 7-point race, and a lot of us kind of went, it doesn't really sound right to me. She'll probably do a little better on election day than she did, so it'll probably close a little bit. But wow, that is really a huge margin. I didn't expect anything like that. Yeah. I think it also goes to the fact of how really deep her negatives were, because the turnout it's a little bit better for a more conservative person than say in my race or in the Busby race. It's not that much different. It's not 35 points different. I mean, that is somebody, we don't like this person,
Sergio, Whitmire seemed to emerge as the change candidate. He's promising to change a lot of things at City Hall, and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee said, I'm just going to do things better. Do you think that has something to do with these early numbers, being the candidate of change?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of folks saw Sheila Jackson Lee as a continuation of the administration of our current mayor, Mr. Sylvester Turner, and folks were just tired of that for the past 8 years and realized that this is an extension of him in terms of policy and implementation of ideas. Whitmire seems to be coming from a different perspective with some new ideas, some fresh ideas, and really tackling the number one issue, which is crime. He's been in our community for a long time, and the community decided, now we're with you and we're supporting you, we want change.
All right, Charles, give me your take on those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty decisive, but I think part of this kind of it goes to Republicans who've come out, because even if you look at some of these council races with Willie Davis up, Twyla Carter up, Julian Ramirez up, Roy Morales just nipping at the heels of incumbent Letitia Plummer, clearly Republicans kind of came out, and granted, you know, the one of them is very close. I think it's the Julian Ramirez one.
Yeah.
It's like less than a percentage point. But you do got these three Republicans who are up in these at-large seats, and so it shows that I think Republicans really did come out, and that the negatives that they had with Sheila Jackson Lee resonated, and they felt a need to come and make their voice heard, despite the fact that there were two Democrats in the race.
All right, on our freewheeling broadcast here, I'm letting the control room know I'm going to walk over and talk to Mark Jones. All right, Mark Jones. You've got some numbers to crunch there. What do they tell you? Let's start with the mayor's race.
Well, in the mayor's race, even when we bring in the Fort Bend County results, we're still, you know, it's a massive Whitmire victory. We're talking, let me get in front of me, 64-36. So 28% lead. That's way more, even if when we projected our poll back in October. Now, it was 2 months ago, it would have been 18%. Now, of course, as Bill mentioned, there was a poll that came out a few weeks ago that said 7%. So that's clearly wrong. But I think what we saw was really strong turnout in favor of Senator Whitmire, as well as strong turnout against the Congresswoman, Sheila Jackson Lee. And also the success we see in the early vote of the more Republican candidates suggests that at least the early vote was dominated by Republicans. And so what remains to be seen is of the approximately 75,000 people who voted on Election Day, are they different? But right now, I think what we're going to be looking at, and this I think we knew all along, we weren't going to be spending much time on the mayoral race, but these at-large council races may keep us up late into the night, because while the Harris County results came in relatively quickly, although after Fort Bend County and Montgomery County, of course, they had far few voters. We may be up late at night until we get the actual Election Day results in a way that will be definitive enough to say who's going to win some of these at-large races, which right now, if we look at sort of at-large one, Julian Ramirez and Melanie Miles are effectively tied, 50-50. If we're looking at Willie Davis is up by 10 points over Nick Hellier in at-large position 2, but when we factor in Fort Bend County, that drops a little bit, not much. And then Twyla Carter is up 52-48 over Richard Cantu in the at-large 3 race. And then Roy Morales is hanging in. He's only down by 6% to Letitia Plummer, although when you bring in Fort Bend County, her results go up a little bit. So I think Plummer, these results are not the results Plummer was looking for, in the sense that I think she would have preferred to have had a larger lead. There's probably enough breathing room there that when the Election Day vote comes in, she should be in good shape, but she's not going to be able to go to sleep until it's very late, probably.
Okay, Mark, quintessential moment. Are you comfortable with the numbers you have there to call the mayor's race yet?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a race. I mean, pretty much everybody who voted today could vote. I mean, it's exaggerating, but everybody who voted today could have voted for Sheila Jackson Lee and John Whitmire would win. Now, technically that's not the case, but I mean, it's close to. I mean, this is a shellacking. I mean, this is about as bad a runoff result as you can actually imagine for the Congresswoman. This is someone who's been a Congresswoman for more than 25 years, prior, I think 28 altogether. Before that, she was on City Council. I think, and it goes back, though, to her decision to run back in the spring. It was a bad decision. Her and her team clearly did not do due diligence, because when we did our first poll at the Hobby School at University of Houston in July, what we saw was that her negatives were through the roof. First, everybody knew about her. So we only had about 1 in 20 people didn't know enough about her to have an opinion. And those who had an opinion, half of them had an unfavorable opinion. And when you ask people about whether they would vote for her or not, you had between 40 and 45% of likely voters say, I would never vote for her. Well, that's pretty tough to win an election when you start off with eventually having to win of the 55 to 60% who like you, having to win virtually all of their vote, especially when you're competing against somebody like John Whitmire, who has very low negatives. And all of the attacks against Senator Whitmire by Sheila Jackson Lee, her surrogates, and others really didn't have much of an effect. And I think part of it was when you were talking with Sergio earlier, the support he received from I guess Congresswoman Garcia and Senator Alvarado really helped to inoculate him against any of those attacks, because it's really tough to believe a anti-abortion attack against Senator Whitmire when Carol Alvarado is effectively backing him.
All right, there you have it. Looks like we have a new mayor coming our way. We'll be back in 30 minutes at 8 o'clock with more election results and more stellar analysis from the Watch Your Point crew.
That is massive.
Okay, April, can you hear me? Okay, we're going to go through some of these races with Mark, starting with at-large 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or we're going to go mayors. Welcome, my name is Greg Groogan. I'm the political reporter here at Fox 26, and we call our coverage, You Decide Houston's Next Mayor, and guess what? Houstonians have decided it's going to be John Whitmire. Joining me, Rice political analyst Mark Jones, my good friend, longtime collaborator. Mark, tell us what the numbers are telling you.
Well, this is a shellacking. Whitmire's defeated Sheila Jackson Lee 64% to 36%. That's a 28% gap. Now, the Election Day vote may bring it down a little bit, but that's a pretty massive victory by Senator Whitmire, showing that both he ran a very good campaign, but also the Congresswoman's high negatives were something that really kept her from reaching out beyond her core base, which would appear to be about 1/3, a little more of Houston voters.
Is it too much to call it a landslide?
No, this is a landslide.
Okay. Hey, we've got other races going on. The race for controller. That's between Chris Hollins and Orlando Sanchez. What's the number there?
Hollins has won that race. He's about 22% above Sanchez. It's no way that vote is going to change. And that's not all that surprising. You had two Democrats in the runoff on the mayor's race. Houston's a Democratic city, and Hollins doesn't generate the vitriol among Republican voters that Sheila Jackson Lee does. Put that all together, he'll be the city's next controller.
Was it a smart move for him to drop out of the mayor's race and into this one?
Would appear to be so, especially since he will now be a controller and for 4 years and potentially 8 years.
Okay, let's move to the council races. At large one, Melanie Miles versus Julian Ramirez.
Miles has approximately 1,000 vote lead over Ramirez when you bring in Fort Bend County, where she does quite well. That's a race that's going to be a barn burner, and we're probably going to have to wait until the very last precincts are in from Harris County before we can call that race.
Ooh, a tight race there. How about at large two? That's Willie Davis versus Nick Hellier.
Davis has about a 12-point advantage. That's going to be next to impossible, but not completely impossible for Hellier to make up in the Election Day vote.
Interesting. Davis ran on public safety. Nick Hellier talked about public safety too, but and interesting because Willie Davis has run and lost before.
Right. So it looks like this may be the charm.
All right. Let's go to at-large 3, Twyla Carter, the former Astros executive, versus Nick Cantu, who's a longtime public servant, lost a daughter to gun violence.
Carter's up by 4% with the early vote. She's not a lock to win, but she's much better positioned than Cantu to win tonight.
All right, at large 4, that's Letitia Plummer, well-regarded incumbent, against Roy Morales, a former Air Force officer and a conservative.
Right, Morales has made this a closer race than many expected, although Plummer retains an advantage and is unlikely to lose that advantage as the election day results come in.
Okay, let's go out to District D. That's Carolyn Evans Shabazz, the incumbent, versus Travis McGee. We had some ruckus out there this week. We covered it on Fox 26. Looks like the incumbent's in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, Evans Shabazz has won that race.
Okay, District G. The whole state's been watching this because of the challenger here, Tony Buzzi, the well-known litigator as well as former mayoral candidate, taking on Mary Nan Huffman, who is the incumbent. She won, was the top vote getter on November 7th. How is this race looking?
Well, Huffman almost crossed the 50% threshold on November 7th. She fell just shy. Right now, though, she's 12 points up over Busby, and she has that one as a lock as well. There's no way Busby's going to catch her with the Election Day vote.
Wow, okay. Finally, District H, that's Mario Castillo versus Cynthia Reyes Revilla. This race drew some interest because Castillo made, I guess what you would call a criticism of a message that Reyes Revilla sent out, said it was homophobic. That was later on. There's also been the controversy over the public housing that's being built in the heart of District H and its adjacency to contaminated land. How is this going down?
Castillo's won this race. He was a strong favorite after the November 7th result, but he has this one locked down. So we now, we were always going to sure, but now we know who the 2 Latinos, at least on city council, will be. And we're going to have to watch that Ramirez race in particular to see, and the Cantu race, to see if the Latino representation on city council goes from 2 to 4. Right now, of course, for the past 8 years, we've only had 1 Latino on city council. That's 6% in a city that's 45% Latino.
All right. Hey, let's go down to Whitmire headquarters where they're gathering at the GRB. Our Shelby Rose is there. I'm sure they've heard the numbers there, and they're already ready to celebrate. Shelby.
Hey, I mean, can you hear the band playing? Yes, everyone has heard that John Whitmire will be the next mayor of the city of Houston, and the excitement, it's real. No one more excited than Marty Langton. He is the president of the Houston Professional Firefighters Association. How's it going?
You know what? It's a great night. Houston firefighters want to congratulate Mayor-elect John Whitmire, and just like Houston firefighters, we never fail. The firefighters and paramedics that go out there every day and support this city and respond to the citizens on their worst day have supported this mayor and wanted to work with him to fix the issues that are going on in the city. I want to say hi to Sue, Greg, Charles, I think Mark, Bill, you're in the studio. It's a good night. It's a good night if it's 8:30 and Houston firefighters are already celebrating a victory, a decisive one. We congratulate the mayor-elect. It's time to get to work.
Now, you endorsed John Whitmire some time ago. What were your reasonings behind doing so?
Listen, we talk about people that want to support public safety, includes firefighters and paramedics. We talk about not just saying words, but your actions. Senator Whitmire carried legislation that would ensure that firefighters in Houston, the fourth populous city, 3rd largest municipal fire department, would never have to go through the struggles that we're going through and have been under this current mayor. This is a victory for Houstonians. It's a victory for public safety. And most importantly, it's a victory for Houston firefighters, paramedics, and our families.
And I mean, you've been in contract negotiations, you said 7 years. How hopeful are you that that's finally going to come to an end?
You know, tomorrow's a new day. And this is what we say to politicians that think that they want to mess with not only Houstonians, but firefighters. We were here before you. We're going to be here after you. And we want to work with the next administration to make sure Houston has a safe Houston, but has good firefighters and paramedics protecting this city.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Marty. And of course, all night long, there is going to be a party out here at John Whitmire's campaign. We don't know yet when he will give his congratulatory celebration speech here at George R. Brown. But of course, we will bring that to you live as soon as that happens. Greg?
Great job, Shelby. It's going to be an early and a happy night down at GRB for the Whitmire campaign. Okay, we're back with our What's Your Point crew, and you guys have had about 30 minutes, 45 minutes to absorb this. Bill, I can't help but think that the outgoing mayor put a lot of chips on Sheila Jackson Lee's campaign. He's been talking about his legacy. Is this in any way a repudiation?
Yes. Look, we talked about this, the last time. We had a poll come out that for the first time in my memory, Houstonians thought the city was going in the wrong direction. It was a pretty small margin, but I've never seen that before in a poll since I've been doing this all the way back in the 80s. That is an important sign that people are not happy with what's going on down there. And I think also there's just this sort of one scandal after another that's been coming out. This latest group that our colleague Amy Davis over at Channel 2 had found on the water contracts, And so, yeah, this is a repudiation of what's been going on at City Hall. It's sort of interesting to me that in most polls, Turner is still pretty popular personally. I think people sort of like him, but they don't like the job he's doing as mayor, and they've been able to sort of distinguish those two things. The other huge loser here tonight are Rodney Ellison and Lena Hidalgo. Lena was out there tweeting today, be sure and go vote for Sheila. And how can you be in an elected office, especially Rodney in his district, and be this disconnected from where people were in this race? It's pretty amazing.
Sue, you have watched the last 8 years unfold under Sylvester Turner. How much of what happened tonight is linked to his support and his administration?
I think it's directly linked to him and the kind of administration he's had and the kind of mayor he's been. And I think, it's absolutely, this is what people in the city think about what type of mayor he is and what kind of job he did. Because, man, he went all in for Sheila. All in. And apparently he had no coattails. And I think people were like, look, we don't want any more of your kind of leadership. And they looked at Sheila and thought, if he's endorsing her, nope, that's not what we want. We'll go another way.
Okay, I'm going to turn to our change agent. Charles Blaine had a big part in crafting a charter amendment that will allow 3 council members in agreement to get something on the agenda. John Whitmire ran as a change agent. Let's stick with that concept. Is that what people voted for today? Change?
Yeah, I think so. I think like Bill mentioned, the polls showed that they were not happy with the direction of the city. I think another part of the poll showed that a fair number of people were afraid to, said they didn't feel comfortable going outside doing things during the daytime. Even today, we were talking about this off camera there was a stabbing at the Galleria. Broad daylight, 11 o'clock in the morning. People are really unhappy with the direction of the city, and I think they do separate the mayor as a person because he does poll well as an individual, but they don't like the job that he's doing, and they don't don't give much credibility to his endorsements. And so I think this is a direct reflection. She did have very high unfavorables from the beginning of this, so I think that plays a huge role as well. But yes, I think this is a reflection of people wanting something different and being offered something different. Republicans obviously crossed over very heavily because they wanted something different, and I think the Democrats did as well.
All right, a critical moment in this runoff was our Fox 26 debate when John Whitmire, who was very strategic, went after the Turner administration saying, hey, look, they may call themselves diverse, but if you look at his department heads, there are not enough Latinos and there are 0 Asians. And he made that point, went out there. What did that message say to you, said Hilda?
Well, the message was, the Chronicle accurately stated that Senator Whitmire was correct that the lack of representation of Latinos and Asians, AAPI community, was not reflected amongst the department heads. I believe there's 23 department heads in the city of Houston. The Mayor Turner chimed in, publicly stated that Senator Whitmire owed him an apology. And I say, why does he owe him an apology when it's stated fact? Just look at the numbers. And Mayor Turner responded to a tweet that I posted that this was accurate information. And he said, no, look at what I've done. I've appointed this person, perhaps in his cabinet, but in terms of department heads and also those folks that he had appointed, they're no longer there. So it's even less reflective of when he was in office and appointed these folks at the beginning. So, you know, that tells us a lot that he was just being very defensive, Mayor Turner, and not looking at the facts.
Okay, let's talk about progress, not perfection, for Latinos in Houston. Your representation is going to grow regardless of the outcome tonight, and you have backed the winning candidate in the mayoral race. How do you see the situation moving forward? Progress?
Slight progress, but I was hoping it'd go back to the future of 1996 when there were 4 Latino on city council in the Horseshoe. Now we'll probably have 2 and hopefully 3 or 4. The Julian Ramirez race is very close. I think that's going to be a nail biter. And also the Richard Cantu race. That one's going to be a little tougher. He might be able to pull it out, but still, it's not even close to parity in terms of other groups. And also, we have no Asian representation on the Horseshoe. So this is very significant. I was hoping we will go back to the future to 1996, but unfortunately, we're not. We're knocking at the door, but next time we're going to kick it down.
All right, Bill King, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. John Whitmire has one big job to do right now. Let's look forward. I mean, you know, everywhere you look, there's a problem.
He caught the car.
The bus. He caught the bus.
Now, look, it's going to be a very daunting challenge to address all the issues that he's got to address. You know, frankly, one of the reasons I didn't run this time was because I didn't want to have to go down there and do this job. The city's finances are a mess. Metro is a mess. He's got the firefighter dispute, you know, he's going to have to resolve, which is, as much as he and the firefighters get along, that's not going to be easy to do. They're going to feel like, you know, they're entitled to everything now, and John's not going to be able to give them everything. I suspect you're going to see that honeymoon over pretty quickly. So he's got a jillion problems he's got to face. You know, corruption, you know, he basically needs to replace all the senior management down there in terms of department heads, or the majority of it at least. So no, he's got a big job cut out for himself here, and I wish him well, and I think anybody that he calls to ask help ought to go down there and help out.
Well, you know, one of those people he'll likely call is Sue Lovell. You know, at least for advice, if not, you know, Sue, you know, where do you start here? And it's picking a staff and picking leadership, you know, we felt like he was in the driver's seat, but is he already planning an administration?
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you look at in the legislature, he had people that have been with him for years and years and years that have worked for him. And yes, he's got a team together that's going to hit the ground running. But you know, John's going to have to go through this, and he knows it very methodically. He's going to have to prioritize what are the big issues, and you move through and you solve those issues, and then you move on. It's not going to be a quick fix, but and you know, the thing with the firefighters, it wasn't just about the contract. It was the most disrespectful way a mayor ever that I've seen treat firefighters, trying to fire and not pay the head of the union. The way he talked about the firefighters, that will stop. And I think they'll be able to get to the negotiations because John's going to respect them and respect everybody. He'll have a plan in place, and he'll go through it, prioritize and go through and get things done.
I'll tell you one thing I think we need to talk about. What effect does this have on Sheila's primary election in March?
Well, you know,
I mean, I think I suspect Amanda Edwards is kind of licking her chops right now looking at this. You know, this is such a weak performance.
What have you heard from John Whitmire that you're going to hold him to that pledge? And I think, you know, for me, transparency is at the very top of the list.
Yeah, I mean, he talked a lot about, especially in this runoff, about ethics, and I think that's something that's obviously desperately needed at City Hall. And so I'm hoping to see some massive reforms there, because we've seen, like Bill just mentioned, all of the scandals that have taken place, not just this, I mean, for the past 8 years. And so I'm hoping we see some good stuff there. And I think, when it comes to diversity, I think it can be argued whether or not the administration the divisions are diverse right now, but bringing more people in and bringing more people to the table, and also bringing conservatives to the table, because I think the thing that Republicans have been upset about this past 8 years, because they've been largely shut out. And nobody's saying that they need to, have the main seat at the table, but there should be a conversation that engages both sides of the city. And I think because of this election, because of how involved Republicans were, I hope that they have a voice as well. And I think he probably will give them a voice.
I'll be also looking at the environment on council. It's no secret that they've been described as like battered spouses down there, because he's governed with such an iron fist and
fear.
With fear.
Yeah. He's been a bully.
Yeah, I think John really understands how to get along with people, having worked in the Senate like he did. I think you'll see a much more positive environment at City Council.
And I think too, he's got. Yes, I mean that's evidence. He knows how to, with everybody. I think one thing they have to go in immediately is start doing some audits and seeing really what the situation is. Because if you believe what Turner tells you, we all know that's probably not the truth. So they've really got to get a handle on what the real situation is and where they need to go and what they need to do, to move forward. So I think you're going to have a lot of that happen.
By the way, we will get the new city audit out here in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. It's due before the end of the year. They typically drop it in between Christmas and New Year's, but we're going to see the new financial status as of last June here in just a couple of weeks.
I want to hear from Sergio on a statement that Bill just made, that this does not reflect well on the clout that Lina Hidalgo has, who went out loud and proud in support of the Congresswoman, as well as Rodney Ellis.
Yeah, no, that is correct. I mean, it's interesting you make that point, Bill, and also Greg, is that this may hurt Lina down the road if she, when she decides to run, for re-election. I know she relied a lot on Rodney Ellis and Sheila Jackson Lee on her first campaign, when nobody really supported and endorsed her. TOP and other organizations that are closely aligned with Rodney Ellis and Sheila Jackson Lee were able to help her and get over the top. So maybe it was, you help me, I'll help you situation, but I think overall it's going to hurt her.
Looks very much like Chris Hollins is going to be our next financial watchdog as controller. And, he's a relatively young man. He's got some experience. But what do you expect? What do you hope from him in that role, Sue?
To be transparent, to keep staff over there that is experienced, to help him make his way through, because he's stepping into a position he doesn't really know. For him to come with a spirit of cooperation, because we need that in this city right now. We don't need any adversarial. And for him to be true to the voters that voted him in, and not any other electeds in any way. And, John will have his own financial person, of course, that will be there. But for him to do the job, to be the watchdog for the citizens of the city, and give us the kind of information that we need, because I don't think Chris Brown really, he gave you a report, but only until just till the very end here, as he stood up on one issue, but he never really stood up to Turner on issues and things. And I hope if Chris has something to say that he thinks is important, that he will say it to Mayor-elect Whitmire and stand up for the citizens. That's why he's elected.
Charles, do you think there's any room there for Chris Hollins to be an innovator, or to bring options to the table? I mean, we've talked about consolidation. We've talked about doing things differently. And he comes from a consulting background.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's room there, and certainly hearing what he's saying on the campaign trail, he does want to be an innovator. But I think what I would like to see from the controller is at least to start with the basics and kind of get a good handle on what the city finances are, serve as a check and balance to this administration, serve as a check and balance to council, put information out that people can grasp and digest. And then as we start to, after this first 6 months to a year, get a better handle on what's going on, then you can start looking at other things. But I do think they're going to have to be looking at cost-saving measures because of what's going on with city finances. And so I think that offers him a really good opportunity, if he wants to innovate, to look at things like that and then propose those things to council. I really hope he's very active in that role, and I hope that, you know, he does serve as a check and balance to council and the mayor. I'm excited about this administration. I'm excited what they might do, but we still need to have that relationship between the controller and the mayor and the controller and council, where the controller is acting independently and holding them accountable, and vice versa.
I'm going to switch gears real quick. Tony Busby's done a lot of winning in his life, but not in the political realm. I think this is his third loss, huh, Bill?
Yeah, I don't know what he spent on this race, but he spent, I think, $12 million on the mayor's race. Look, the problem is, you know, you can be an independent, which, you know, I ran as an independent in 2015. If you walk out and say you're an independent and you haven't been voting in the primaries, and you can demonstrate you're authentically independent. But Tony's case is he comes out and tries to be all things to both sides. You know, he represents Paxton, but then he gives a lot of money to the Harris County Democratic Party. And so you end up taking incoming fire from both sides all the time. And so I wasn't that surprised by this outcome. Huffman is quiet, but she's well liked in that district, and I think most people felt like she was going to do a pretty effective job. The other thing about it is that, you know, Tony ran on this idea that he was going to go down and make a difference. Well, district councilmen don't make any difference at the Horseshoe. You're going to go down and yell at people and make them give G more money? I mean, it wasn't realistic, and I think people were concerned about his constituent services, and by all accounts, I talked to people on G, she did a pretty good job at that.
Okay, Sergio, you've been watching these returns come in. Give us some of your impressions.
Well, you know, I'm just a little concerned. I was really surprised by the District H race. I thought Cynthia Reyes was going to be, the race was going to be a lot closer. The fact that she's a Latina, the progressives, Latinos seem to be winning at a higher numbers across the state and locally and Harris County. I thought her numbers were going to be up. Plus, this is her third race, so she had plenty of experience, campaign experience going into this. I thought her race would be a little bit closer. The fact that she has experience, she's a Latina, she's well educated, but Mr. Castillo just pulled ahead very strongly the first time, and he kept it up. That race really surprised me the most.
Do you think the controversy about her ad made any difference, or the die was cast?
I think the die was cast, but it definitely did not help her. I mean, she should have focused on her merits. You know, I've been in campaigns, and others have been in campaigns. And Senator Whitmire, now Mayor Whitmire-elect, he said, when you go low, you go high. But she needed to focus on the merits of who she is and what she's done. This last matter definitely did not help, and I would not have recommended approving it.
Okay, Sue, who are you watching? What race is really on your radar now as we go down the stretch run? Here are the numbers.
I think probably at large one, because it's so close, how that will play out. I think Nick has a big gap to make up. We'll see. I don't know if he can do so. He certainly ran a impressive race, but with the Republican turnout, like I said, it was different this time. We had more Republicans, more motivated, and also, you know, Willie's African American and Republican. So, you know, he got a lift from that. And so I think one I'm watching. I think Twyla will hang in, but one will be very interesting to see.
You know, we're hearing that the turnout today, from phone calls we're making, the turnout in the suburbs continued to be robust today, and it maybe wasn't that high inside the city.
So, you know, Whitmire won by a margin that probably could have withstood if Huffman had won in the general, but, you know, it didn't hurt that the most Republican district in the city had a very vigorous district council race, and that pushed turnout, didn't it?
I don't know.
And it had a ghost third.
I'm just skeptical that district councils ever make any difference. People go to vote for the mayor. I mean, we were looking at the drop-off between the mayor's race and everybody else. 10, 20,000 vote drop-off in the early voting. I mean, people go to vote for the mayor, and then if they're there, maybe they go for the council people. I just don't. Look, in every election, G, E, and C, you know, you're going to have 65% of the vote come out of those three council districts, the way it is in every single election. So I've never really bought into this idea that in the runoff, what district races really make it much effect.
And then in G, you had that late minute, I call it the ghost candidate, with just enough it took to force the runoff into, to this cycle.
Okay, let's go to at-large 4 and Letitia Plummer, an incumbent who pushed back, I thought, pretty bravely and strategically against the mayor. Do you think that's going to pay off for her tonight?
I mean, it's close, but I think it might. I mean, I think, Roy Morales seems to have done well because of the Republican support, because he's run a number of times. People knew his name. But, I mean, it seems to be moving more in her favor as the night goes on. And so I do think that, and, people generally like her. I mean, so I think she's pretty safe. I was hoping you'd ask which races I'm watching, since you asked Sue which races she's watching.
Oh, he always wants to be
you know me well enough to go ahead and say, Charles, what races are you watching?
Senate District 15 and Congressional District 18 now, because obviously they're going to run, there's going to be a race to replace Senator Whitmire, and so really curious to see what happens there. But certainly Congressional District 18, because if I'm Amanda Edwards, I'm on the phone tomorrow morning calling people saying, I'm the future, look at these results. It's time to shift and send some money towards me. And so I'm really interested to see what happens there and see how well Sheila does if she gets back in that race on Monday when filing ends.
Well, that's going to be, I wonder about that. Will she really, after this, is she really up for running a contested primary race? I don't know.
And she's got no money.
Yeah.
No money.
Yeah.
That is how far away?
She's still popular
4
in that
months.
congressional district.
Well, I remember when she was
35%, you'll see where
she signed up as Hillary
Clinton.
Clinton's statewide chairman, and then Barack Obama catches fire.
Right.
And she caught hell, but still won by double figures in that district. So I guess we shouldn't underestimate her.
I think when you look at the 35% where it came from, a bulk of that's going to come from her congressional district. They like her. You know what? She is good to her constituents. She works hard for them. She does do that. It was just people just didn't think the position for her was the mayor's position, that was where she should be. But I think her congressional people still, they like her, and they're gonna go out and vote for her.
I returned to the debate stage during the run up to the November 7th, and she talked a lot about how much money and resources she brought to Houston, and how successful she was in Washington. And one of the candidates said, and that's exactly where you should stay.
That's right.
And they got their way.
Control room, y'all need to talk to me and let me know if I need to break away here, or should I continue talking to her? Okay, final word. Just a couple of thoughts. Sergio?
I was hoping for more representation, but there is some progress. And I am so happy that Senator Whitmire is now the mayor Whitmire, because he's truly going to he's a great listener. And I think he's going to listen to the three council folks if they put something in the agenda to make it more robust, as opposed to running City Hall with an iron fist. So I think Senator Whitmire is a big plus for our city. I think the amendment to allow 3 council persons to put, it's going to be more proactive, more democratic, more robust, and things are going to get done in our city.
Okay, we're going to leave it right there. We'll be back on at some point tonight, whether it's on our broadcast or right here on our... Oh, we're back at 9. Okay, so we're freewheeling, and we understand that Congresswoman Jackson Lee is going to address her supporters. We'll want to hear that as well. So hang with us. Fox 26, your political station. Hey everybody, welcome back to our election night coverage, Fox 26. You decide Houston's next mayor, and you have decided. John Whitmire will be Houston's next mayor, and we're going to go down to Shelby Rose.
We're going to send a message to violent offenders. County. Non-violent offenders will help you change your life, but this will be a safe city, a safer city on day one.
What do you think it was about your campaigning that
bringing people together and being positive and establish record. So,
you think people in Houston have been fed up and that's why they showed up to the polls for you?
You know, you have to ask them. We are very proud of our coalition. We ran a positive campaign. We're going to have a safer city. We're going to quit kicking our problems down the road. We're not New York or Chicago or LA. We're Houston. We fix our problems.
Tell me about the bipartisan support that you've gotten.
It's bipartisan. It's not garbage pickup. It's not a Democrat or Republican issue. Houstonians understand that. I bring everyone to the table, and that's what we're going to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have the firefighter union here today, excited that you are now our mayor-elect. There's been contract negotiations for 7 years. Are you hoping
we will get out of the courts. We'll sit down and arbitrate with them. It'll be fair to Houstonians and to firefighters. We will solve that problem. We need our firemen to be motivated and know that people respect them. Houstonians love their firefighters and our police officers and our municipal workers. We can get things done in the city of Houston.
Thank you.
All right, we were heard there a little sampling of what John Whitmire is probably going to tell the entire crowd, but what he told the press corps that was gathered there, talking about a new day in Houston, solving problems. We fix our problems here in Houston. We don't kick the can down the road. I guess that's music to your ears, Bill King.
That'd be refreshing, wouldn't it? Yeah, actually, Mike's not up here and putting on the same. This is really a repudiation of the current administration, big time. I mean, I'm trying to remember back to a mayor's race that's been this lopsided before, and I'm not remembering one anytime in recent history. And you know, you had the county administration and the city administration all in for Sheila, and the people of Houston said, no, we want to go a different direction. So this really is a big change election.
You start looking at the Latino legislators, Sylvia Garcia, Carol Alvarado, Armando Wally,
Ana
Hernandez. All of them backed him early and stoutly, went on the air for him. You know, why was that, and what do you hope this mayor-elect delivers to the community?
Yeah, well, you know, the message was that he's always been there for our community, so our community is now going to be there for him during the campaign. But what we're expecting and hoping is that he was able to build a broad coalition. And today, the New York Times stated in an article that the Republicans, independent Latinos were going perhaps be the deciding factor in electing John Whitmire as our mayor. And I believe he's going to be a great listener. He's going to be proactive, not reactive. He's a man of action. Just look at his legislative history. He creates policies. He works them, and he gets bipartisan support, and there's progress. And I think we're going to see progress in our city.
All right, Sue Lovell, you've known John Whitmire for many decades.
Over 40 years.
Yeah. Tell us about the man. Tell our viewers what they can expect from the next mayor of the nation's fourth largest city.
John's the kind of guy, what you see is what you get. What he tells you, his word is golden. If he makes you a promise, he keeps his promise. He has a plan, that he's gonna implement. He's gonna do everything he said he would do on the campaign trail. People can trust that he's going to do that. It's going to take a while to do some of it, but methodically he's going to work through and do everything that he said he was going to do. What I love with the 65% is it's like across the board. It's like through every neighborhood. It's bipartisan. It's everybody in this city from every walk of life, some way, voted for John. And I think that's the best thing for this city because it become really kind of polarized. And the way Turner was a leader was really kind of through fear and intimidation. And that's not how John leads. John leads by example. And now he has a broad coalition of people that want him to succeed, and he will take advantage of that, and he'll be a good leader and a good mayor.
All right, you watch city council, you watch city government, you want it to work better. What do you want to see this mayor-elect attack as a priority?
I mean, for me, I think it's ethics and finances. I mean, I think that's two of the things that this administration that we're currently under has failed at, really. You know, outside of maybe the early pension reform at the start of the administration, but I think ethics and the fiscal affairs of the city are the most important. Fiscal affairs being the most important, and obviously policing and crime. That's something that we've talked about consistently on What's Your Point, and that everybody, whether it's been in polling or anecdotally on the streets, has talked about being concerned about crime in the city. So I think those are really the three things that I'm watching the most, and also just to see how he interacts with council, because we know how the current administration has interacted with council, and I do think it'll be different. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what that relationship's like as time goes on.
Okay, we got billions from the federal government. We got 400 million left. That's the so-called fund balance. We got lots
that
of
we
think we have. We haven't done an audit.
We don't know.
Man, and we've been told, we've heard that the liability to the firefighters could be anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion. Is John Whitmire the guy that can get the best deal because he can sit down with Marty and the membership and say, hey, look, this is what we got. This is what we can do. Will you work with us, Bill?
Yeah, look, I think he's got a lot of credibility with those people because he's, been supported of them for a long time, and so I think they are going to listen to him. They feel very abused, and I think rightfully so. But they've got to be realistic. And look, I don't think this is going to be a real adversarial thing, although I think it could go south pretty quickly. But I think that they care about the city, and they understand that they can't bankrupt the city with a settlement. So I think something will get worked out. It's going to be something that's going to be paid out over time.
Yeah, one of the other problems will be building HPD to the numbers that are needed. And Senator Whitmire has talked about, creative recruiting, going to the criminal justice system, pays better here. But we're also coming up against a roadblock in that fewer people want to get involved in law enforcement. How does John Whitmire go about improving the numbers and the efficiency at HPD?
I think he sits down with HPD and with experts. And what John's strength is going to be when you talk about council members is he's going to view them as partners, that they're partners in moving forward. Where this mayor never viewed the council members as partners. They were people to vote with him, and if they didn't, then they would lose something. And John's going to view them as partners and how you move forward. He'll treat every department as a partner. How do we move forward? How do we improve our water system? How do we improve garbage? How do we improve our police department? How do we improve our fire department? How do we improve things at metros? He's going to be a partner with those people and move forward, because that's really the only way you can do this job, is to view people as partners and how you move forward in making the city better. That's the kind of leader he is.
Said you've been really vocal about your opposition to the state takeover of HISD. Mm-hmm. John Whitmire has campaigned on his relationships with Austin. Do you feel like perhaps returning HISD to local control could happen more easily with somebody like John Whitmire brokering that transition?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to work across the aisle to get anything done. And I think his approach is that we have to look at the takeover, the Republican takeover of HISD. It's an effect. There's nothing we can do about it now. We need to look forward and make sure that we provide the best quality education for all children in HISD. So what can we do? Let's sit at the table and let's see what we can do in order to bring back the elected board. Let's see what we can do to work together to make sure that our students are receiving a good quality education. There's effective practices Teachers are not leaving in Exodus, that we have to come to the table to find some common ground for the sake of all students in HISD. And I think he's willing to do that. He has built those relationships across the aisle, and he's going to transfer that over with HISD and the appointed superintendent.
Whitmire said that the county and the city are at war with Austin, and it just does no one good for the state's largest city to be in active long-term hostilities. Do you think Whitmire is in position to potentially not capitulate to Austin, but to collaborate with them?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you don't get appointed as a committee chair by a Democratic lieutenant governor and then stay for 3 Republican lieutenant governors without being able to have those relationships. I think, he said the county and the city are at war with Austin. Well, the county and the city might be at war with each other now. I mean, and I don't think that'll be coming from the city side. I think that'll probably be coming from the county side, given how Lena Hidalgo has been very outspoken about her dislike for Senator Whitmire, going as far back as to the last her election, when she kind of went on the rant when you were interviewing her. And so that'll be interesting, seeing what that relationship's like. And I'm excited, though, that the city, I do think that the city is going to operate in earnest and try to work with the county. It'll be interesting to see what the county does.
Okay, TRZs, tax
increment reinvestment zone.
They were supposed to be vehicles to replenish blighted areas, and now they've been used to build bus lanes and all kind of stuff that they were never intended. Do you think John Whitmire will give the TRZs a look? I'll start with you, Bill.
Yes.
How do you think he'll examine them and the money that they suck?
Look, as you point out, TRZs are supposed to be for blighted areas. Okay. 70% of the money goes to Uptown, Greenway, and Memorial. Now, those don't really sound like blighted areas to me, Look, there's some of the TRZs that do a really good job. The one at Kingwood is really well run. They don't get any CIP money from the city, so they use that TRZ money to do their capital improvements up there. There's some other ones that are well run. The Midtown is a mess. There are several of them that need very dramatic reform. I would say there's several of them that probably ought to be eliminated, and I'd start Uptown as being number 1 on my list.
At a recent council meeting, the mayor said, people will try to rewrite your story right before your eyes. And we all took that as his concern about his legacy. Well, a chapter of his legacy may have been written tonight to some degree. You think so, Sue?
I do. Again, he was Sheila's biggest supporter. He was on radio. He was out there in front, more so than anybody else. I mean, she had a lot of people from her community that endorsed her, but you didn't see them out there campaigning on radio, doing ads or anything else. They just endorsed her. Sylvester was out there in front, and I do think that, part of this is people just said, well, if you're supporting her and I see how you run the city, I don't want her running the city either. They connected them, and they spoke loudly about they wanted new change, new leadership, and John, told them exactly. Now Mayor-elect Whitmire told them exactly what he was going to do and how he was going to do it.
Turner accused Whitmire of a racial dog whistle in a debate, our debate, and I need to get your take on that. Did you hear a dog whistle there? And if so, if there was something that was racially offensive, what does Whitmire have to do in order to make sure he's a mayor for all?
I mean, did I find it racially offensive? No, but I think it comes down to when you're having conversations like that, knowing how people might take something. And so I think from the mayor's perspective and as a black person, when you're saying that there's not diversity, but there is a large percentage of black people in those positions, it's saying that it doesn't count. And so I can see why the mayor took offense to it. I didn't take offense to it. I don't think it was a dog whistle. It certainly wasn't an intentional dog whistle. And I think the point of him saying that was that there is a lack of representation for Hispanics and for Asians, and that he wants it to be more diverse and increasing them. I think the mayor took that to mean that there was a lack of white people and that they should have more white people. And he made it very clear that that's not what Senator Whitmire was saying. And so, no, I didn't take offense to it, but I can see how some people would. But I don't think that's what he meant. And I think that there does need to be, the city does need to represent, administration needs to look as like what the city looks like, and I think we need to continue to work towards that. I don't know that it's ever going to be perfect, but it's something that you can always strive for as a goal because it should represent the city.
Sergio, jump in here.
Yeah, well, I think when you talk about these issues about representation, you know, we need to have that honest discussion, not be defensive about it, not have a strong rebuttal and call it a dog whistle. Let's just look at the facts, the data. It speaks for itself. And we have to remain calm. We have to remain very diplomatic and professional. But to react in such a defensive manner, that tells you something. That tells you that someone poked you in your comfortable zone. So maybe we need to step back and look at it. Let's have those honest conversations in a very respectful manner.
You know, the business community got behind John Whitmire early. What does that tell you, businessman Bill King?
Well, the business community had really lost confidence in Turner a couple of years ago. You may recall that it was for years and years, the Greater Houston Partnership sponsored the state of the city, and he pulled that away from them and gave it to the Houston First Corporation because of a dust-up they had over a voting bill in Austin or something, remember now. But increasingly, the business community has seen what I saw some time ago, which is the finances are a mess and nobody's doing anything to fix it. And then you add on top of that these ridiculous, like $2.3 billion for a bus rapid transit down Richmond. I mean, I promise you, there's not a single business person in the city of Houston that thinks that makes any sense whatsoever, you know? And so he had lost that confidence some time ago. And look, I just think that this is absolutely a change election, and one thing that I'm happy to see is we have a senior citizen as mayor.
Hey, Sue, you know,
have some wisdom, and
you get a discount at Denny's.
John and I are the same age. Come on.
Much was made early on of Whitmire's advantage with his war chest, and I guess Gilbert Garcia and Jackson Lee, you know, asked for a ruling. City Attorney Arturo Michel said, you know, you can use it because the mayor used his, the current mayor. Did it really make any difference in the end?
No.
I think. Well, I want to talk about the dog whistle thing.
Okay. All right.
I think if there was a dog whistle, I think that Turner's the only one that heard it. Well, no, I mean, what it allowed Mayor-elect Whitmire to do was to kind of introduce himself, because he'd been in Senate District 15, which is sort of the inner city, but to be able to, you know, introduce himself to the rest of the city and for them to get to know him. So he had the money to be able to do that early on, and then just continue to, you know, to talk to people. And look, he had to convince Republicans that they could trust him. And so he had the war chest to do it. But ultimately, I think it would have ended up the same way it is now. I mean, clearly, people just did not trust Sheila, Congresswoman, to be able to do the job. And I think it hurt her because Turner was so close to her, they just weren't going to go with her and chance that they'd have more of the same.
You're an influencer. People are going to come to you in that congressional race.
What congressional race?
They're going to say, like, you know, would you support Amanda, support Sheila? I know you're.
Or run as a Republican.
None of the above. No, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. You know, Sue said before that when you look at these numbers of Sheila's 35%, most of it probably will come from that district, and I think that's true. But I think, you know, when you spend this money and you come in so low, and now you have to go back to donors and make an argument that you want to now go back to Congress, but yet you perform so poorly, but still give me more money so I can make this play. Yes, go ahead. I see.
I think State Senator John Whitmire, Mayor-elect of Houston, is going to take the stage, and here we go.
Hello, H-Town. I don't know about y'all, but Boy, let's stick a fork in this election because it's done. This is the biggest landslide of a victory our city has seen in a long, long time. Welcome to the Whitmire campaign. Team Whitmire has put together a heck of a diverse coalition of people that led to tonight's victory. We haven't seen a coalition like this in a long time. We have labor, we have the business community, we have the Latino community, the African American community, the Asian community. We have our police and fire union, our employees union. That says a lot about the type of campaign. And you see, our candidate, he took the high road. He stuck to the issues and talked about what Houstonians care about: crime, traffic, infrastructure, flooding. When they went low, he went high, and it paid off. And I can't say enough about this team. Not only was this coalition of supporters diverse, but look at the campaign team that he put together. And I want to congratulate some of these folks. Diana Patino won. Let me tell you what, this Latina, she is a force to be reckoned with. She, Robert Jara, Mark Campos, Jaime Mercado, they put together one hell of a campaign. And boy, let me tell you what, I'm going to bring up, speaking of one hell of a person, I'm going to bring up somebody who, La Congresista, she's also somebody to be reckoned with. Now, you know, there's a saying in Spanish that says, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Congresswoman Garcia, she was on the campaign trail early. Welcome, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia.
Thank you, Carol. And, you know, people would look at me and say, oh, you're the Congresswoman. Now they tell me, oh, you're the one in John Whitmire's TV ads. And you know what? I said, hell yes, because I'm doing everything I can to make sure that John Whitmire is the next mayor of Houston, and we did it. We did it. We did it, John. We did it. And my friends, when people would ask me, why are you doing it? And I'd say, well, I've been in city government, was a judge in the city, was city controller, worked with a lot of mayors. I think I know a little bit about governing and mayoring in the city of Houston. And I could not think of a better person to run this city for everyone, for all of us, than John Whitmire. And rest assured that all of us are going to be there with him, because he's going to be being a mayor for all of us, con todos, para todos, to make sure we go into the next century as smart as we can, as progressive as we can, as clean air as we can, making sure that Houston is on the map for all the right reasons. That's what we need in a mayor, and he's going to be able to do that. And let me assure you all that if he strays in any way, I will be the first one to call him on it. But you know what? I say that in jest because I know we don't have to. Because I've known John Whitmire since the same time that we were both working at the State Welfare Department. He was working on the food stamp section. I was working on the Welfare Mothers section. That tells you a lot about people, of where they start. Helping other people. And that's John. Helping other people to get things done to make life better for others. That's John. Helping others and not doing it for the cameras or the credit, but to get things done. That's John. So who's our next mayor? John! Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for all your support. And let's make sure we continue that because he's going to need our support now. I can tell you, governing is not easy. And sometimes, John, our own best friends put more pressures on us. So I need a commitment from all of y'all tonight that you're going to be there for him through the bumps, through the stumbles, through the victories, no matter what, because we know in his heart he is working for the city of Houston and for us. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And also, someone else that's been involved in this campaign from day one, and God, I know he's taken some heat for it, but he's tough. He was a fearless leader in the Texas legislature on so many issues. Please welcome the Honorable Garnett Coleman.
Thank you, Carol. Let me tell you, this has been an honor because we have someone who has all the correct attributes to run our city. But the thing that the people keep saying are that he doesn't have a heart. And I can tell you that he definitely has a heart. I can tell you that this is a man who's going to do the things that the people need. The mistake was that people didn't think that the people need good law enforcement and good firefighters and good public servants that are out there doing the things, good streets. But they also need compassion and a heart. And I know because of the things that he wants to do for people that in healthcare, that city has a large role in affordable housing, and all of those different things are serious and good things and real things that the city needs. But he also understands that this city, and you've heard it, that this city needs the trains to run on time. This city needs things done in a way that the investment of people's tax dollars goes into making sure that it is a good and well-run city. And he has said it. You want your garbage picked up. You do. I want my garbage picked up too. I pay taxes. But also, we know we want people who have a need to be covered. And his experience and work has done that. There's a guy that works for me. He's here tonight. And I've known him since high school. And really know him. And he's had a brush with the law. And we've been talking about it. And he said he was over at Reverend Nash's church. And John was there with a guy that had ended up in the criminal justice system. John didn't look at this guy as somebody who he wouldn't help. He went and made sure that he advocated appropriately for that guy and make sure that people have second chances as well as that they're held accountable. So these are the reasons that the Sandra Bland Act, that I've been so proud to be a part of this campaign and so proud to stand up and take whatever little bit of heat that I would take. Doesn't matter. Because the reality is, what's good for people is something worth taking heat over. So I'm so proud to be here with John Whitmire, the next mayor, the mayor-elect of the city of Houston.
Thank you, Garnett. You know, it says a lot about somebody when they have a staff that has been with them for a long time. I know Laura's out here. She's been his chief of staff for 20 years. 20 years. And the next person I'm about to call up, Gigi Lee, has been with him for 17 years. I doubt there are many people that can make that claim. But let me tell you what, to the City of Houston employees, you're in good hands. Please help me welcome Gigi Lee.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. I have worked for 3 different mayors, but I have worked with Senator Whitmire the longest. For now, 17 years. He's a great boss. He has provided exceptional working environment. He is the best boss anyone can ask for. And I see him in action every day. In the last 17 years, I'm sorry, I got numbers mixed up. And I witnessed Senator Whitmire's tireless dedication and passion for the people he represents daily. Having been in the legislature for 50 years and having worked with 9 different mayors, no one is better prepared for mayor of Houston than Senator Whitmire in this century at this critical time. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor, privilege to present our next mayor of Houston, John Whitmire.
Thank you. Thank you. To the people in my campaign and supporters that have told me you have to smile more. And of course, they don't know what it's like to be attacked and your record misrepresented. And I tell them I will try to smile. Well, tonight I'm smiling. And I'm smiling for the city of Houston. And I want you to smile. Because tonight is something to smile about. So don't tell me to smile anymore. I'm leaving here smiling. I could spend the evening going through the crowd and thanking individuals. So many of you played a critical role. So many of you have helped shape my legislative career. Your support, your advice and counsel. You know who you are. And in days to come, I'll personally thank each and every one of you. But tonight, if you'll bear with me, I want to thank some individuals that have gone down the path with me. My 2 daughters, Sarah and Whitney, Whitney's 2 sons. Only candidates know what we put our family through. They suffer with us when we're attacked and people go low. So thank you. These 2 ladies, I've been in public office their entire life, if you can imagine. Their mother and I raised them to believe that we're regular Houstonians. In that sense, mean we may have a title, but it doesn't mean anything. We're Houstonians. My staff, you saw Gigi has made me look good for so many years. Laura Wendler's here. She's been my chief of staff for 20 years. People want to go to work for me because we respect people. We don't bully people. I was very fortunate. My family taught me to treat people the way you want to be treated. And that works wherever you are, regardless of what community you're visiting with. Treat these individuals like you want to be treated. And that's, I wish y'all could stand here and see this outstanding crowd. This is what Houston looks like. My colleagues, Sylvia Garcia. Sylvia, I thought you brought a lot of money back to Houston. You know, I was just about fed up with one person taking credit for our entire outstanding Harris County delegation, because I know this person is a public servant and has bring significant funds, and so has Al Green and Lizzie Fletcher. Quite frankly, we've got a great congressional delegation. Carol Alvarado, chairman of the Democratic Caucus. Carol and Sylvia ran that commercial talking about what we'd done together as good Democrats, but we work across the aisle. Thank y'all for that commercial. My campaign team, obviously, I can't name them all, but Diane Petrano did such an outstanding job. My firefighter friends, they're early. We will meet with them and give them a contract that is fair to Houstonian taxpayers and the firefighters. The first day we'll get out of court. Can you imagine a city suing their first responders? We couldn't make it without them. And of course, our HBD officers. Thank you, HPOU. I want to do a shout out. I took time today to travel to the home of Mauricio Valier, courageous HBD officer that was shot 8 times last Saturday night. He's fortunate, none hit his torso, both arms, both legs. I was in his home this morning at 11, thanking him, and I hope he's listening here. Those are our heroes, and we're going to work with them. And I'll get to public safety in a minute, but I'm still thanking people that have made a difference. The municipal employees, Hope, AFL-CIO, United Here, the workers that keep the lights on in this convention hall. I could go on and on, the coalition that we've built. And I want to thank thousands of Houstonians that have come up to me and thanked me for running a positive campaign. Thank you, Houston. Thank you, Houston, for giving me the encouragement that I needed to stay positive. It worked, and Houston needs to smile tonight because it's a testimony to our great city. We have a great city, great people. In fact, we're special. I've said we're great all over this city, but I have arrived at, we're not just great, we're special. We're not New York, we're not LA, we're sure not Chicago. We fix our problems. Great cities solve their problems. They bring people together. Our campaign united this city. From day one, we will have transparency. In fact, day one, we will have a council meeting, and then I invite each and every one of you and bring your friends and neighbors. Your mayor will meet you at the front door of City Hall to open the door for you. I will shake everyone's hand. You will be able to talk to your mayor from day one. Great cities solve their problems. We will make this a safer city. We will do it by recruiting more officers, supporting the officers we have, the coalition building with other agencies. Our infrastructure will be repaired and fixed, not only streets, but water. Great cities do not boil their water for 2 days. Together, we can solve our problems. The first way you solve your problem is admit you have one. And I don't mind telling folks what a great city we have, but we've got great challenges. If we will come together and realize it won't be easy, in fact, we will face challenges. But I see that as an opportunity. And I need you to join hands with me. We'll meet our challenges. It'll be an opportunity for us to show the nation what the city of Houston can do. We will not kick our cans down the road any longer. So, we have so much to be thankful for. Tonight we're going to celebrate. I want to shake your hands, but in the morning we go to work. Thank you. Let's go to work. Thank you. Smile.
There we go, John Whitmire, mayor-elect of Houston, Texas, in landslide fashion on the stage there with Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, as well as State Senator Carol Alvarado. Mark, your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, I think this is a massive victory by Senator Whitmire and shows that the campaign he ran was virtually flawless. He had the advantage of running against a somewhat flawed candidate, which explains the landslide, but it doesn't explain the victory. That is, it would have been very difficult to defeat Senator Whitmire with the campaign he ran, regardless of if he was going against Sheila Jackson Lee, Chris Hollins, Amanda Edwards, or Gilbert Garcia.
You saw him bring out Latino supporters, an African American in Garnet Coleman, his longtime staffer, who is an Asian. Did you see some symbolism there?
Well, I think that's it's a shot at the Turner administration, and I think showing that the Whitmire administration is going to reflect the diversity of the city in the way that perhaps the Turner administration has not to the full extent. I think it also highlights the importance that Garcia and Alvarado played to his campaign. I would see it just as much in terms of identity politics as in terms of partisanship. And then actually I would say they were more important from a partisan side in helping him to retain a significant share of the Democratic vote, because what no one can claim is that Sylvia Garcia is not a strong progressive, nor that Carol Alvarado is a strong progressive. And the fact that they were there backstopping him, supporting him, deflecting criticism of him, that was, I think, a major factor that allowed him to retain such a large share of the Democratic vote. And from these numbers we're seeing, it indicates that he not only won a substantial share of the Anglo-Democratic vote, he won a lion's share of it.
All right, well, there you have it. Not much drama. John Whitmire, mayor-elect of the city of Houston. He talked about great cities fixing their problems, and he said that we would fix them together with his leadership. So we're going to leave it right there and rejoin you if and when Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee takes the stage to talk to her supporters. Stay with us.
Wait, now we can hear it?
Welcome back to our coverage of tonight's election. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee was defeated tonight by State Senator John Whitmire, who is the mayor-elect. Sheila Jackson Lee will be speaking to her supporters.
Each and every one of you, representing the thousands of supporters, volunteers, neighbors that I had the opportunity to meet as I traveled across this city. I love Houston, and it's a great city. And at this moment, I want to congratulate the next mayor of the city of Houston, John Whitmire, and commit to working with him, because as I saw the city and listened to all of you, I know that our ideas can put this city in the future, as I have said. You worked real hard. You come from all over the city, and you have hearts of gold. And I am very happy to be able to say we worked as hard and are grateful for every vote. I want to thank my family, my husband, Dr. Elwin C. Lee, because no one does anything together. My daughter, Erica Shelwyn Lee Carter, her husband, Dr. Carter, and of course, you cannot compare them, Ellison and R.C. Give them a very big hand. My son, Jason Cornelius Bennett Lee, glad to have him here with us tonight. My words will be few, but they will be embedded in my heart and in my DNA. I've had a great opportunity to serve this city. And yes, I was there during every disaster, bringing federal dollars here. I never ran away from the fight to make Houston better. I'm grateful to all the unions that were so good to serve in this campaign. I'm grateful for those who believe that Houston ISD should not be taken over. Our work is not completed. This was a journey. I am a public servant. And being a public servant, you never stop working. I hope you will allow me to continue to work and serve you as I have done in the past, because that is what I will do. I'm committed to doing what is necessary to make sure this is a great city. Now, a few thank yous to all of you. Even though the outcome was not the way we would have wanted, the best thing for us to do is to shore up and stand up and be committed to Houston moving forward. That's what I will do. What I will say as I begin to thank the elected officials, the faith community as mentioned, what I will say is that when I started this race, I had no intentions. But to offer myself on my merit. I've always said, and you've heard me say, look to what she's done to know what she'll do. I continue to offer that as a basis of my public service. And I have welcomed the diversity of this city. We are so many rainbow colors. Yes, we are African Americans, but we are Anglos and Latinos. We are Southeast Asians. We are Asian Pacific, and we are many, many others. And we should see each other in the beauty of that diversity. Let us not pit race against each other, but let us view the beauty of who we are. That is what I saw in this particular campaign, and I will continue to lead my life in that way. Let me call out the name of our unions that were so helpful. The Organizing Project, SEIU, the Caucus, the Houston Federation of Teachers, the Carpenters, the Transportation Workers, the Machinists. All of these organizations and many others were part of the working families and the working families. I did say SEIU. All part of people who are committed to serving. Civic Hub leaders, I see Mr. Brown here, among others, precinct judges, thank you for your commitment and investment in this campaign. So, my journey of gratitude is to make sure that not one single person leaves here feeling that they have not been appropriately thanked. All of the elected officials, and we had many, who supported us, and we shared with them the love and the appreciation for their help. In particular, I want to mention all the state representatives that helped us. We want to acknowledge Commissioner Rodney Ellis, who really continued to stay the course. Judge Lena Hidalgo, who is here in spirit. We are grateful to our state legislative team of Ron Reynolds, Senator Boris Miles, Jolanda Jones, and many, many others who, Symphonia Thompson, how should I forget the dean, and many others who we'll name, I'm sure, of course. Let me thank my team for sure. We could not do this without our chair, Gerald Womack. We're so grateful. Steadfast, always steady, always working. Our vice chair, Dooney Hebron, we're delighted. We mentioned our faith community. Let me include Bishop Dixon, Pastor Devon, Dr. West, and of course, Pastor T. Grant Malone, who is speaking in another city tonight, and the long array of pastors that have been so helpful. Let me thank those who focus on the Gen Z and the millenniums. Thank you, Hiram. Thank you to the team we met with last week, and we committed to making sure that we open the door for your leadership, and it will be open because this is your city. We're excited about all of you. I'm grateful to Ling Lu and her whole team, and Sally, and all the volunteers. They were exciting, they were young, and they were never giving up. And of course, I have left the strongest and the best for last, or near last, and that is Mayor Sylvester Turner. We thank him for his work. I wanted to make sure that we built on his work and that we continue to serve communities that have been served, and we serve those that have not been served. But what we will do is find our place to be a servant in any way possible. So I'm grateful to all of you. If I have left anyone out, it is of the mind, not of the heart. I want to thank you. I see Hiram over in the corner. I see Edna Briggs. She is an angel, and she is singularly part of the Historic Communications Workers of America. We're excited about what they have done. And, of course, we want to acknowledge the president of CWA, who's our own, and that is Claude Cummings, who's been there from the beginning. We are grateful to many of you, including Ben Reyes, including Little Joe, including Mr. Garcia, including Yvonne Sanchez. Ivan, thank you so very much. Mr. M.J. Khan and the Muslim community who stood with us, and many other different faiths who stood with us. So we are very grateful, certainly, that we stood for all people. They're giving me notes, my friends, and so I've already said American Federation of Teachers. I've already said the Houston Federation of Teachers. Jackie Anderson, thank you so very much. Thank you, Amber Mostyn. Thank you, Lily Schechter. Thank you, Ambassador Schechter. You all are stupendous. And I'll be thanking you and going on and on and on, but I want to thank you all as well. And I can't tell you how much this loving family has meant to me and how they have stood by my side. You know, it's sweeter to be saying what a sweet victory it is, but it is equally sweet to be able to acknowledge that we put in a great fight, and we stood the course, and we worked with the resources we had, and we went across this city, and we met new friends and new ideas and new ways to be of help to all of the people of Houston and those in the 18th Congressional District. So look out now. We got some ways to being different and helping and building everything up. Thank you all so very, very much, and I am grateful. Thank you so very much. We are grateful to you as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can't. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm trying to get signals. Have I made everybody all happy here? I can't hear you. I don't know what you're saying. Okay. Okay. Oh, there she is. That's because Linda is in the back hiding. I see James. Linda Brown, show your face. Angelica, Alejandro, show your faces. I don't know where you are. There you are. Thank you very much. And all those who are. All right. Thank you. Said Glenn, and that's PJ. Thank you. All right. Lord family, we thank you all very much. Thank you. All right. Y'all have to have your faces smiling. Ain't no stopping us now. We're going all over and really work hard for the people of our community. Thank you so very much. And again, congratulations to the next mayor. I look forward to working with him and working with all of you. Is that good? All right. Thank you, Hiram. Turn the mic on again.